What happens when your most personal medical secret becomes front-page gossip? 1 minute, Saucy Santana is riding high on viral fame and glittered clapbacks. The next, he's trending for all the wrong reasons, after a leaked report sent shockwaves through his fanbase. And it wasn't just the leak that had people talking. The real twist? It allegedly came from someone inside his circle. And somehow, young Miami's name ended up dragged into the mess. As tears, betrayal, and rumors collide, the internet's trying to piece together what really happened, and whether this was a mistake, a setup, or something far more calculated. It all started with a few blurry screenshots, grainy, barely legible, and posted to a burner account that didn't even have a profile picture. At first, no one took it seriously, but within hours, the posts were everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and what they claimed, that Saucy Santana's private H1V status had been leaked by none other than his ex. No context, no verification, just a chilling image of what looked like a medical report and a bitter caption accusing him of hiding his health status. The internet didn't hesitate. Within minutes, hashtags started trending, and people were speculating wildly, reposting the screenshot with captions like "exposed," "Santana hiding this," and "this changes everything." The alleged source? A man Santana had been romantically involved with, on and off for years. A figure known online only as D. They had never been completely public, but those in the loop knew their bond ran deep. The relationship was messy, emotionally charged, and often clouded by drama. But what came next crossed a line most fans weren't prepared for. D posted the supposed report with an ominous message. "Y'all favorite is out here playing with people's lives. Y'all better be careful." He didn't name names, but the implication was crystal clear. And in the comments, followers connected the dots instantly. At first, Santana tried to brush it off with his usual bold energy. He posted cryptic tweets and tried to spin it with humor, as he often does, leaning into his flamboyant online persona. But behind the scenes, things were different. People close to him began leaking details. Santana was shaken. Sources from his inner circle claimed he broke down crying after the post went viral, calling it the ultimate betrayal. His voice, normally confident and cutting, was quiet. He stopped showing up to certain events, and in several now-deleted tweets, he hinted at being emotionally overwhelmed, writing things like, "Y'all don't even know half of what I'm going through," and "Imagine waking up to the whole world judging you off a damn lie." This wasn't just a messy breakup spat. It was personal. It was medical. And it put Santana in the middle of a dangerous storm, where privacy rights, public perception, and digital witch hunts collided. The alleged report, whether real or fake, had turned Santana's most intimate vulnerability into viral content. And in today's social media culture, that kind of fire spreads fast and burns deep. To make things worse, the topic itself, H1V, is still deeply stigmatized. Even with all the progress in awareness and treatment, society often reacts with fear, judgment, and cruelty. So while Santana never confirmed or denied the claims directly, the damage was already done. People weren't just speculating about his health. They were weaponizing it, turning it into gossip, using it to question his character. It wasn't just a violation of his privacy. It was a full-blown attempt to destroy his reputation. And yet, that wasn't even the most shocking part. But that was only the beginning. Long before the screenshots and explosive leaks, there was D, Saucy Santana's on-again, off-again partner, whose name was rarely mentioned, but whose presence loomed in the background for nearly 5 years. Those close to the situation knew the dynamic was intense. Publicly, Santana never tagged him, never confirmed anything outright. But if you watched closely, Instagram stories with blurred-out faces, TikTok lip syncs aimed at someone who knows, cryptic tweets about loyalty and betrayal, it wasn't hard to figure out there was something deeper going on. D wasn't a celebrity, but he seemed to enjoy being adjacent to fame. He'd subtly flex in the background of Santana's travel posts, and insiders claimed he often pushed Santana to go public with their relationship, something the rapper consistently refused to do. According to people close to Santana, that decision caused constant friction. D wanted clout, Santana wanted control, and behind the scenes, the relationship began to spiral. But nothing could have prepared fans for what came next, an unfiltered livestream that would change everything. Late one night, D went live on Instagram with less than 200 viewers. It seemed random, casual, until he started talking. What began as a vague venting session quickly turned into a bitter takedown. He never said Santana's name outright, but he didn't have to. His followers knew exactly who he was referring to when he dropped lines like, "Y'all love a glittery facade, but I was there behind the scenes, when it smelled like and looked even worse." The most shocking part? D didn't just throw shade. He made deeply personal allegations. He spoke about hygiene in disturbing detail, making comments about unwashed sheets, funky drawers, and a smell you can't scrub out. The tone was cruel, calculated, and clearly designed to humiliate. Viewers were stunned. Screenshots of the livestream spread within hours, and once paired with the alleged H1V report he later leaked, fans began connecting the dots. To many, it seemed like D wasn't just venting, he was setting up a smear campaign. What made the livestream especially damaging was its timing. Coming so soon before the medical report leak, it framed everything in a much darker light. Some fans believed the report had to be real, based on the way D talked about body odor and unclean habits. Others argued it was just a bitter ex trying to get revenge. Either way, the public perception was shifting fast, and Santana's silence only fueled the fire. For someone as bold and unfiltered as Saucy Santana, his lack of response was deafening. No sassy tweet, no Instagram rant, not even a TikTok duet, just digital silence and a few vague posts about heartbreak and betrayal. Behind closed doors, sources claimed Santana was devastated. Friends say he'd always struggled with being fully vulnerable in relationships, and that D's betrayal hit harder than anyone expected. But there was one twist no one saw coming. As fans combed through Santana's old lyrics and posts for clues, they stumbled across something unexpected, something that pulled a completely different name into the mix. And then Young Miami's name suddenly surfaced. For most of the scandal, the chaos seemed to orbit squarely around Saucy Santana and his bitter ex. But then, almost out of nowhere, another name got pulled into the storm. And it wasn't just anyone. It was Young Miami. Carisha Brownlee, better known as Young Miami, is one half of the City Girls and no stranger to drama. With her bold attitude, viral catchphrases, and infamous Carisha interviews, she's built a reputation as a fearless voice in hip-hop and reality culture. But in recent years, her name has become just as tied to her personal life as it has to her music, especially her high-profile, often ambiguous relationship with music mogul Diddy. So when fans started noticing certain clues connecting her to Santana's leaked scandal, the internet lit up with speculation. It started with a few lyrics, nothing new for Santana, who often blends personal drama into his tracks. But in a recently resurfaced freestyle, he casually drops the phrase, "Took me to Diddy World, now I'm seeing stars." The line flew under the radar when it first came out, but now, it was getting dissected like an encrypted message. The theory went like this: if Diddy World was a reference to Young Miami's lavish lifestyle with Diddy, then maybe she was the one who introduced Santana to D, the man now being blamed for leaking his medical status. Fans ran with the idea, and suddenly, timelines were flooded with side-by-side photos, speculative threads, and old interview clips that seemed to support the narrative. Even more fuel was added when a few cryptic tweets from Santana began resurfacing, posts where he appeared to call out someone close to him for setting him up with a demon. In one deleted tweet, he wrote, "Funny how the one who introduced us is suddenly real quiet now." He didn't name names. But fans didn't need much to start pointing fingers. Despite the growing speculation, Young Miami remained completely silent. No tweets, no shade, no denial. And in the world of social media, silence is its own kind of statement. This was especially suspicious to fans, who were used to Carisha speaking her mind immediately when things popped off. She's clapped back at trolls, shaded exes, and even inserted herself into feuds that didn't involve her. But this time, nothing. And in a world obsessed with narratives and connections, that silence only made people more convinced she knew more than she was letting on. To some fans, it all made sense. Miami introduces Santana to a man in her circle, thinking it's harmless. That man turns out to be unstable and vindictive. A few years later, he blows up Santana's entire world. The question is, did Young Miami really have no idea who she was introducing her friend to? Or did she see the red flags and ignore them? As theories spread, the comments under Miami's posts began to shift. What were once flame emojis and supportive hearts became messy accusations and demands for answers. Some were playful. "Carisha, come get your mans." Others were serious. "You knew what he was like. Why would you bring him into Santana's life?" Still, Miami said nothing. But the internet wasn't finished yet, because once they started connecting dots between Miami, Santana, and Diddy, a whole new wave of theories started taking shape. But fans weren't done speculating. Once the internet caught the scent of a deeper connection, Santana, Young Miami, Diddy, and the unnamed X, it didn't take long for the theories to spiral into something far bigger. Fans began combing through years of tweets, Instagram comments, old live stream clips, even podcast episodes, trying to piece together the timeline. And what they found only fueled the fire. The theory that Young Miami introduced Santana to D wasn't just a stretch anymore. It was starting to make sense in a suspiciously calculated way. Several fans pointed out a now archived Instagram Live from early 2022, where Santana mentions linking with him at Carisha's party, without naming who him was. At the time, nobody gave it a second thought, but now, in the wake of the leak, people believed it was the first breadcrumb and that Young Miami may have unknowingly set the stage for the entire scandal. Then came the texts. Screenshots of alleged text messages between Santana and a close friend started circulating online. In them, Santana vents about feeling set up, writing, "She always got a man, but can't tell when they off in the head." Many assumed the she in that message was Miami. In another screenshot, he reportedly wrote, "Whole situation dirty AS. Ain't no loyalty." Whether those texts were real, faked, or somewhere in between didn't matter. Once they hit the timeline, the damage was done. Fans ran with it. To make things even messier, people began speculating that the entire situation may have been orchestrated, that the leak wasn't just a bitter ex lashing out, but a calculated move with layers of hidden motives. One of which involved Carisha distancing herself from Diddy. Some fans argued that by dragging Santana into a scandal, it created a distraction, just as rumors about Diddy's legal troubles were heating up. Suddenly, people weren't just focused on Diddy's federal investigations or shady business allegations, they were caught up in Santana's personal life, and by extension, Miami's. Others pushed a different angle, that this was never about Diddy at all, but about clout. That D wanted fame, and leaking Santana's alleged medical records was his twisted ticket in. And with Young Miami's name floating around the drama, it guaranteed attention. The more outrageous the rumors, the more clicks, comments, and reposts. TikTok flooded with commentary videos. Creators posted hour-long breakdowns titled, "How Young Miami Might Be Behind the Leak, Allegedly," and Santana, Diddy, Carisha, the messiest triangle online. Hashtags like Carisha Knew and hashtag Santana started trending. Even fan pages for the City Girls were divided, some defending Miami, others accusing her of being quietly complicit. Throughout it all, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a leak. It had morphed into a spectacle, a firestorm where fact and fiction blurred, and the truth became secondary to the entertainment value. Every new clip, every alleged DM, every resurfaced lyric was treated like a clue in a true crime documentary. But instead of investigators, it was fans, hungry for drama, piecing together theories like detectives in a digital soap opera. Yet amid all the noise, the people at the center of it, Santana, Miami, Diddy, and D, remained mostly silent. No direct confirmations, no denials, just vague tweets and disappearing posts. And in the vacuum left by their silence, speculation grew even louder. But the chaos online was just the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, real damage was unfolding. Careers were being questioned, reputations stained, and for Santana, who had always used his confidence and flamboyance as armor, there were cracks beginning to show. Meanwhile, the internet was erupting. In the days following the leak, Saucy Santana did what he does best. He clapped back. With razor-sharp tweets, cryptic Instagram captions, and signature shade, he tried to flip the narrative in his favor. He posted things like, "Ain't no weapon formed against a real baddie ever prospered," and "Y'all be loud and wrong, but never in person." For his fans, it was classic Santana. Bold, unbothered, and unbreakable. But behind that digital confidence, the reality was far more fragile. Sources close to Santana described a completely different picture. While he kept up appearances online, those in his circle revealed that he was struggling deeply. According to multiple insiders, Santana broke down in tears multiple times in private. He reportedly canceled a studio session and skipped out on a planned appearance at a major fashion event just days after the leak. One source said he tried to laugh it off at first, but when he saw how far the rumor spread, it broke him. This wasn't just typical celebrity gossip. This was his health, his reputation, and his mental well-being being dragged through the mud in front of millions. The betrayal wasn't just about a bitter ex or a messy relationship. It was about trust and the horrifying realization that someone he once loved may have weaponized his most personal truth. The silence from young Miami only made it worse. While Santana was navigating an emotional minefield, Miami remained radio silent. No public statement, no tweet in support, no quiet like or emoji on one of his posts. For two people who once called each other besties, the silence spoke volumes. And when it came to Diddy, whose name had been increasingly tied to the chaos through fan speculation, there was nothing. As always, the mogul stayed removed, floating above the mess like he always seems to do, unbothered and unreachable. The public, however, was anything but quiet. Reactions were split right down the middle. On one side, fans came out swinging in defense of Santana. They insisted the whole situation was a setup, revenge from an insecure ex who was jealous of Santana's fame and ready to destroy him. Some argued that the leaked report was doctored altogether, pointing to inconsistencies in the image and casting doubt on its authenticity. Others claimed the entire scandal was part of a larger effort to discredit Santana at a moment when his star was rising fast. But not everyone was convinced. On the other side of the digital fence were fans and followers who believed the leak was real and deliberate. These people painted a darker picture, that Santana had kept his health status hidden, that the ex exposed it for the greater good, and that the flamboyant rapper wasn't as innocent as he claimed. Some trolls even accused Santana of using the scandal for sympathy and streams, twisting his silence into a calculated PR move. The split in public opinion created a toxic environment where speculation drowned out empathy. Every move Santana made, every tweet, every post, every appearance was dissected under a microscope. If he was quiet, he was guilty. If he responded, he was deflecting. No matter what he did, someone had a theory, and none of them were kind. Meanwhile, Santana's fan base, nicknamed the Saucy Set, tried to rally behind him. They flooded his posts with hearts, sent him encouraging messages, and even started a hashtag #WeRideWithSantana. But even that support became a battlefield. Opponents argued the fanbase was blindly loyal and ignoring real questions. Santana himself never confirmed or denied the allegations, and the silence only deepened the divide. And while all of this was playing out in public, on Twitter, in comment sections, on podcast debates, and TikTok breakdowns, what mattered most was being quietly lost in the noise. The very real emotional toll on a human being who had just been blindsided by betrayal, humiliated on a global scale, and forced to watch people argue over his private life like it was just another episode of a messy reality show. The damage wasn't just reputational, it was deeply personal. But as the dust began to settle, one thing became clear. This scandal wasn't just about Santana, or even about young Miami. Still, the bigger questions linger. With the initial firestorm slowly simmering down, a new question has taken over the conversation. What now? Because once the dust of a scandal settles, all that's left is the fallout, and whether the people at the center of it can survive the wreckage. For Saucy Santana, the stakes have never been higher. This wasn't just a messy breakup or a viral beef. This was a full-scale invasion of privacy that blurred the line between personal trauma and public spectacle. And in an industry where image is everything, especially for LGBTQ+ artists already navigating stereotypes and stigma, a scandal like this can easily become career-defining. For years, Santana has carved out a lane that didn't previously exist, openly gay, unapologetically flamboyant, and fiercely self-assured in a rap world that often tries to box people like him out. He's become a cultural force, not just through music, but through his presence, his voice, and his unfiltered authenticity. But scandals like this can shake that foundation. When your personal life becomes weaponized, and your most vulnerable truths are used against you, it can drown out everything else you've built. The question on everyone's mind now is, can Santana rebound? Some say absolutely. His fan base is loyal, his personality magnetic, and his refusal to confirm or deny the leak may ultimately work in his favor, keeping the focus on his art, not the accusations. Others, though, worry the damage is already done, that the constant whispers, the screenshots, the unending TikTok commentary will follow him like a shadow, casting doubt and distraction over everything he does moving forward. But Santana's not the only one whose future is being weighed. The quiet but looming presence of young Miami in this entire situation adds a whole different layer of risk, one that's tied not just to her brand, but to the man she's been publicly linked to for the past 2 years, Diddy. Diddy, whose name has become increasingly surrounded by legal controversies, ongoing lawsuits, and a slow-burning fall from grace, is a brand risk now. And anyone still closely associated with him, they're being scrutinized too. Young Miami, once praised for her independence and unbothered boss energy, is now facing backlash for staying silent, both on Santana's scandal and on Diddy's growing list of allegations. And while silence can sometimes be a PR strategy, it can also be perceived as complicity. Is the theory that Miami introduced Santana to D turns out to be true, or even if enough people believe it is, then she's not just the bystander, she becomes part of the story. And given the current climate around accountability in celebrity culture, that could put her in hot water. People want transparency, they want loyalty, and in this case, many feel like they haven't gotten either from her. So what really happened? Was this a smear campaign, orchestrated by a bitter ex and conveniently timed to distract from Diddy's legal troubles? Or was it the result of clumsy loose lips, a relationship turned sour that spiraled into chaos without a master plan behind it? Or, more cynically, was this a calculated move, a publicity stunt to manipulate sympathy, control headlines, and distract audiences from even more serious controversies quietly bubbling beneath the surface? No one knows for sure, and maybe that's the point. In the end, what's left is a trail of broken trust, public confusion, and reputations hanging in the balance. The kind of drama that doesn't just disappear when the news cycle moves on. Because in today's world, where celebrity is fueled by clicks and commentary, a scandal like this doesn't fade. It gets archived, replayed, and reanalyzed every time one of the names involved makes a move. For Santana, for Young Miami, and even for Diddy, this saga may not be the end, but it's certainly changed the narrative. And it's forced fans, critics, and insiders alike to ask one question that still hasn't been answered. What's the real story behind these headlines? What started as a mysterious screenshot on a burner account quickly spiraled into one of the most explosive and emotionally charged scandals the internet has seen this year. At the center, Saucy Santana, bold, loud, unapologetic, suddenly stripped bare by a leak that cut deeper than any diss track ever could. A supposed medical report, leaked by an ex with a motive, transformed his private life into public entertainment. And what followed was a messy collision of betrayal, speculation, and silence. The drama didn't stop with the leak. As fans dug deeper, more names got pulled into the fire, most notably Young Miami. The speculation that she may have introduced Santana to the very man who betrayed him set social media on fire. Add in resurfaced lyrics, cryptic texts, and the ever-looming presence of Diddy, whose own public image is under fire. And suddenly, this wasn't just about one man's heartbreak. It became a tangled web of celebrity connections, unspoken alliances, and reputations on the edge. Through it all, the internet did what it does best: theorized, dissected, and turned people's pain into content. Some believe Santana was set up from the start, a pawn in a bigger game. Others think the leak was just raw, messy fallout from a toxic relationship. And some say everyone involved knew what they were doing from day one. What's undeniable, though, is the emotional cost. Behind the memes, the theories, and the clicks, there's a real person, one who reportedly cried behind the scenes, who felt abandoned, and who had to watch millions debate his life like it was just another viral moment. The emotional fallout of betrayal, especially when played out so publicly, doesn't just disappear when the trend dies. It lingers. And while Young Miami and Diddy remain silent, their silence has become its own kind of answer. One that raises even more questions about loyalty, responsibility, and whether anyone in this story is truly innocent. So where does that leave us? In a world where scandal sells, whose story is really being told, and at what cost? Let me know what you think really happened. Was this a setup, a personal vendetta turned public, or something deeper, more calculated? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's talk about whether any of them can survive this storm.